Hello everyone, and welcome back to another Heartwell Dev stream, the live stream series where we continue to develop this adorable Souls-like action RPG with platform mechanics and multiple endings. And if you find these dev streams interesting or helpful, be sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel and boost that bell button to stay notified. Hello Twin, thanks for dropping by. How's it going? So, when we last left off, we drew the Stripe Piercer, we drew these animations, and now we are going to be working on the crossbow. And oddly enough, the animations of Dorothy holding this much more advanced futuristic weapon is actually very similar to what we would probably need for the crossbow. Just think about how you would hold it, you know? It'd be a similar sort of position. So, with that in mind, let's grab no. And one thing about the crossbow that'll be interesting is that in terms of like animation frames, I want the crossbow balance wise to be like less damaging than a bow on a arrow per bolt basis, but notably faster. Like that's the way I want to balance the crossbow. So with that in mind, we actually probably don't need that many animation frames for the crossbow. We literally just need like Dorothy, you know, raising the crossbow, launching it, and that's that. It'd probably be like a very quick animation. But first we need to get some of these animation frames over there. It's interesting because it's like ye old crossbows, they didn't have like you didn't fire them the way you would a modern rifle. They actually had like a much larger lever that you would squeeze around the post of it. And what that would do is it would release a wheel that would allow the strain to kind of the crossbow cable to essentially be released closer to the actual main frame of the crossbow without having it get stuck, since that could easily happen with some of the older with other models where it would just where you would only have the like some kind of hook holding it in place. But that there it easily stuck, or it could like go askew of the frame, and once it goes off the frame, then your accuracy is just gone. So going from there. Hello, Copper Nicholson. Thank you so much for dropping by. How's it going? Welcome, welcome. We are drawing more animations. Da, 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 da. Oh, and for those who are wondering where the music is, it's the website that I use to play royalty-free music on these streams is you know, currently having I wasn't able to log in for whatever reason, so in the meantime, we're just gonna have a nice chill stream, no background music, no nothing, just us, chat, and drawing some animations. So that's what we'll be up to. Alrighty. So it's 1:45 where you're at, Copper Nicholson. I see. Well, if it's in the middle of the afternoon, I'm sure there's plenty of stuff to do. And if it's in the middle of the evening, then, you know, might be a good idea to get some rest. But in the meantime, I see. Well, in that case, it'd probably be a good idea to get some rest. But in the meantime, more animations to draw. Okay. Grab those and move that over there. Alrighty. So, chat, out of curiosity, of all the weapons you have seen so far on our attack animations image here, which sprites? Well, I guess which sprites do you like the most so far, and also which which one of these weapons are you most looking forward to using when the full game comes out? Well, Captain Nicholson, there is not a shotgun currently on this particular attack animations frame. But if you are referring to like the Sky Piercer, which is this thing, this is more of a railgun. Then I see. I mean, it makes sense. It's an interesting looking weapon. So cool. Me personally, I'm looking forward to trying out the scythe, since one of the things I want to have the scythe have a special for is to make it so that when you inflict damage with the scythe, that it recovers a certain amount of ammo. And I think that would definitely give it a lot of good synergies with the ranged weapons. Alrighty. So we got all that's over there. Now that we got that there, chat, is time to do some animating. Let's see here. I think this should be a 2-frame animation, so it's very quick. We got this over there. Start the downward facing animation. That doesn't quite look right because the crossbow would definitely need to be a bit closer to there. All right. You know, that kind of works. Like, if we just, like, reduce the size of the backstop, that would honestly work pretty well. So we think about where the shoulder is. Yeah. Perfect. Is it a bit exaggerated? Sure, but given that we're dealing with pixel art here, chat, when we zoom out a bit, it's going to look, it's going to be nice to at least be able to see that at a glance. Let's see here. And now we got the downward facing one. Let's do the upward facing one real quick. Yeah, since we're on the subject of scythes, chat, have you ever played Dark Souls 3? Because if you have, the first DLC has a fairly difficult boss fight that involves a character that dual wields scythes, and that scythe is a really, really excellent weapon in the game, but you can only get it by defeating that boss. I do also like the power stancing of scythes in Elden Ring, especially. It's very, very fun playstyle. Very niche, but very fun. Copper Nicholson asks, am I familiar with Soul Eater? I'm aware that Soul Eater exists. But you know what other Some shows exist. Strange New Worlds by Star Trek. So, I was actually watching the first episode of Star Trek Strange New Worlds, and it definitely is, it's hitting all the right marks for what a Star Trek show should be, and I'm very much looking forward to seeing more of it. Yeah, I finally saw the first episode, got to see Captain Pike, got to see Spock and Uhura and new characters. It's really fun. Let's see here. Where are we going? Oh, yes. We must put this over there. I think this needs to be in the background. So let's we try to line this up. Actually, wait, no, that doesn't make sense. So it lines up with it lines up with Dorothy's hair, the center line, so it'd be around there. Let's try it there and go from there. Hello, Lime Violin. That's right. How's it going? Lime Violin says, hi, lurking as you chop vegetables, commenting for Twitch metrics. All right. No worries, Lime Violin. I appreciate the lurk. Also, what kind of vegetables are you chopping? Making something tasty? As for dinner tonight, I had some nice black bean soup. So that involves some couscous, some black beans, lots of spices. Very, very delicious. All right. Let's see if we delete that. The shoulders around. Oh, whoops. Yeah. Right now, chat just trying to line everything up. Helen Violence says chopping some carrots, parsnips, onions, shallots, peppers roughly during your meal prep on, and chopping your veggies is always your first step. Excellent. And what meals are you prepping? Because if there's one thing I've learned about being an adult, it's that meal prepping is such an important thing to do if you want to have any amount of time to do things outside of work. Because like I've met people who are like, they like to cook things when they come home from work. And it's like, if that's you, then, you know, you do you. But me personally, I think it's a lot more efficient use of time to essentially cook everything for the week all at once in a large batch. So that way you have more time to do the stuff you want to do. Love Island says you're gonna make some ground turkey and veggies, breakfast frittata, chili, roasted veggies. Whatever else happens to me. Awesome. That sounds delicious. Hope you enjoy it. Let's see. Beyond that, in terms of what stuff is new, I've made some good progress on the Elden Ring challenge run summary video. It's definitely been a long time coming. Like, I still have a lot of editing to do. Right now I'm currently in the process of finding the clips from my footage from the DLC. But once I do all that, I can start editing some things together, adding memes. You know, I'd say I have all the audio recorded at this point, but I think I might have to re-record a couple of lines because I realized that I thought certain items were dropped by certain bosses, but they weren't. So I'll try that. Alon Valen says, super necessary. You'd love to cook every night, but it's just so much time. And it's so nice to just come home and have a nice, healthy home-cooked meal in the microwave. Oh, I agree. Absolutely. I'm exactly the same way. Thanks, you're laughing soup with couscous sounds delicious. Oh, Absolutely. Like, I would highly recommend it as a recipe. Or like if you've like if you have a cookbook and there's like a black bean soup recipe, definitely worth giving it a try. It's quite good. All right. Got that. Right now, what I'm doing, chat, is just trying to line things up with the. Yeah. Okay, that works. That's with the arrow loaded. Was not sorry, not the arrow. The bolt loaded there. And then for the left and the right, we have our left and right animation. So, those who are just joining, we are drawing some attack animation sprites for the crossbow, which balance-wise will be less damaging than a bow, but also attacks notably faster than a bow. I almost feel like we need like a upward portion there. Yeah, all right. You're around there. And if we hide that for a second, okay. We need Dorothy's hand to be visible, so let's all right, we're on the right track, I think. Yeah, honestly, I think that looks pretty dead in terms of how it all lines up when Dorothy's holding it. You know, she has the crossbow up against her shoulder, she's looking down the sights. And the slight angle, while a bit exaggerated, also gives a clear indicator of what's going on with the crossbow. Now we just do the old copy pasta reverse. We push slightly to the right. All right. Now you may be asking yourselves the question, chat. So we have our crossbow here. And you're thinking, how many more animation frames do Antomicx possibly need for this crossbow attack if it's supposed to be faster than the bow? The answer is exactly 1. So, what we are going to do, chat, is effectively so what we're effectively going to do, chat, is just take this, but inserts the crossbow where the bolt is fired, and that's that. That'll be the animation. Because when you really think about it, the crossbow is supposed to be like a very fast attacking weapon. Then it should be the kind of thing where it's like you just pull it out and then pop, it's done. Actually, let's remove this stuff. Boom. Let's move everything up a bit. Now this is an excellent demonstration, chat, of the principle that the first thing you do for the first anything you do whenever you're developing a game is always the hardest and the longest to set up. And what I mean by that is like when we were drawing the Sky Piercer animations last stream, this took like most of the stream, and that stream was close to 2 hours long. Like most of the stream was just doing these animations, right? Because we hadn't really drawn an animation where Dorothy was holding her hands in such a way to hold that kind of an item. But now that we have those animations, this, animation set up for the crossbow is going quite a bit faster because we have that foundation to build on. And I have any piece of advice for anyone who is getting into game development or even just a long-term project in general, it is worth your time to take it slow and build a solid foundation. Because a solid foundation can really let you expand quickly and effectively in the long run. So that's so as we are doing here, chat, we're very much still building foundations. This time, this is the foundation for the rest of the weapons in the game. So, and the goal so far is to get roughly around 60 weapons in the game, so 30 melee and 30 ranged weapons. So we're gonna try and hit that goal. It's like I already know notionally what the weapons are supposed to be. At least I've written them down in my notes and such, but it's like balancing wise, I have to obviously work on that, and I also have to get I also have to determine what all the specials will be and things like that. But the animations are also a key part of that. Copperhead SNES. So, what do I think of Captain Pike so far? Captain Pike's very interesting. I think it makes sense that he was. You can definitely see that Captain Kirk took after Pike in a lot of ways, but also Pike has his own way with things as well. I do like that he is one of the reluctant captains, along with like Captain Sisto was Commander Sisto was reluctant to become the space station commander, just as Captain Pike was reluctant to take command of the Enterprise. So I like that, and I think it'll be very interesting to see where that goes. Oh, have you seen episode 1, Copper Nicholson? Because if you haven't, I do not want to say any spoilers, because it's really good. So, let's see there. Now we'll just take our new crossbow animation. And we'll go from there. Gotta make the crossbow animations. Gotta make the crossbow animations. Ding, ding. Okay. So what I'm doing there, chat, in this animation frame over here on the top left, I am purposely leaving some things in place so that I have something to go off of for reference in terms of where the crossbow should be placed after the bolt has been released. So with this, I know that I just placed this right there. And boom. Suddenly, we have the placement all correct. Just like that. Then we'll do the same for over here. Really, we just need that. So that'll get the point across. Bada bang, bada bum. Now I'll just copy pasta for the other side. Do I or don't I? Now that looks weird. Okay. It just needs to be a slightly different shade, and then we'll go from there. Yep, that looks better. Yeah, we want to give it some depth. Alright, there we go. We have some depth all played. Whew. Very good. Let's see. You did watch the first episode. That's not. Yep. I'd say it was a very good first episode. And the fact that it led to a lot of plot relevant stuff for Star Trek, and I really liked that. Especially that that revelation near the end of the episode, that a certain something that is brought up all the time in Star Trek was directly the result of Captain Pike's actions. I found that to be very satisfying. All right. Cool. That goes there. There's at least one more thing. Oh, Copper Nicholson, are you familiar with the term prime directive? Yes, if you are, then and you've seen the first episode, then you should know what I'm talking about. And if you don't, then I'd recommend rewatching the first episode because, for Star Trek terms, it is a very important plot point that they went through. Whoa. There we go. Now I'll just make our happy little adjustments. Everything can be where it needs to be. Just like that. Alrighty. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's that. It has been less than an hour, and already we have a new weapon attack animation. Well, almost. I got cut off there for a second. We might want to move things just a smidge to the right. I'm gonna move the sprite of Dorothy's down here because the sprite got cut off there. Let's see. Let's move this on over there. Yeah, I'm very much looking forward to see where the rest of the series goes, what kind of character development piped in the rest of the True Debt, what adventures they go on. If there ends up being a long-form story to be told, that'll be interesting to see. Oh yeah, of course, the creation of the Prime Directive, the fact that the Prime Directive arose out of that very specific circumstance, I thought was pretty interesting. So that adds a lot more depth to the term Prime Directive whenever it comes up in the next generation, or in Deep Space Nine, or in the original series, or even in Voyager. Though I guess Janeway kind of puts the Prime Directive to the wayside quite a bit on their journey back home. But yeah, so we have that. We have our crossbow. Let's see. Wow. Wow, chat. Look at that. With the crossbow done, we have actually finished 25 of the weapon attack animations. Which begs the question. You know, when that's, because technically we'll have close to 60. 4 already in the demo. A number of them are, you know, let's see. I think, let's see. Did we do every single one that's here? I think we did. Yeah. Yep, we did, chat. So, interestingly enough, chat, this might actually be an opportunity for us to draw some more weapon attack animations, because it's like, of all the weapons that I've drawn so far that are not spoilers, these were the ones we had so far. So I actually have to do something I don't have to do very much, and that is we're actually going to try working on drawing some more weapon models, because there are some more ones that I think we should draw here that I just haven't gotten the chance to make yet. So let's see if I can find my list. So bear with me, chat, while I look for my notes here. And for those who are just joining, I am taking a moment to identify some more of the weapons that we need to draw, since while we've drawn 25, there are still quite a number of non-spoiler ones that we could work on. I just need to refresh myself on what those are. Alright. Should be listed here somewhere. Alright. Okay. I will find these. Alright. Now we'll just take a look at our own list, chat. Alright, so we have the sword. We have the tower shells. We have the flare gauntlets. We have the sonic baton. We have the incinemortar. Longbow, the spade, the quake mortar. The icicler, gravity lance. Yep, that's one we could have. Let me just make a note about that. We'll have the ES prototype. For those who are wondering what this is meant to be like a drill, so that'll be interesting. We have the staff, we have the Q-knives, and the cryo pick. We have the landmine, we have the frost ray. We have the scythe, we have the electro whip, we have the star piercer. I don't think we have the aqua cannon. Yeah, no aqua cannon yet, so let's add that. And wait, I don't think we have the shock driver. Let's do Oh, we don't even have the M2 Zap Saber yet, so that's important. The crossbow, hammer storms, and the windbreaker. Well, we never did that one though. Okay. So I'll write those down. We have the tornado spike. We have the signed Misuda. We had spears, we had harpoons, we had the cyclemore. I don't think we had the thermotorch, so let's add that in. The acidifier. Yeah. We already had the skeleton key. All right, so there's a couple others that I know of that are spoilers, so I can't include those, but at least in terms of non-spoilery ones, those should be most of the non-spoilery ones that are left. So yeah, that in mind. Oh, sorry, chat. I wasn't reading chat there for a second because I was in the midst of doing stuff. Quinn asks, "Hey, Antomicx, you have a job. I have a job interview on Monday. You asked the employer if you should meet the workshop. They said sure, so you can let the landmark near the workshop, and we can walk to the workshop together." The question was, should you try to find the workshop or take up the offer to meet at the landmark? I'd say personally, probably take up the offer to meet at the landmark just so that there's less confusion. Like, the last thing you want is to try and meet up with someone and then have one or both of you get lost and end up not meeting each other or meeting each other late. Way easier if you meet up at a very obvious landmark, and then can walk over to wherever you gotta meet. Yeah. The only reason I wouldn't say to meet up at a landmark is if you are 100% certain you know where the location is. But if you're not, or if you've never been there before and they're like, yeah, let's just meet up at this very obvious landmark, then meet at the obvious landmark. Alrighty. If the area is confusing, then yeah, absolutely, you want to meet at an obvious landmark. Definitely take them up on the offer. All right, chat. So in terms of more weapons that we can draw, these are the ones that we have to draw for the time being. The question is, chat, of the ones listed here, which one are you most interested in seeing first? We have the Aqua Cannon, which is a ranged weapon that fires a water-based projectile. We have the Shock Driver, which is basically an electric hammer. We have the M2 Zap Saber, which is like a curved sword. We have the EDATS prototype, which is a drill. We have the Pulmonary Destructor, which is an electric ranged weapon. There's the Tornado Spike, a very unique one. It's kind of like... It's similar to a landmine, but instead of blowing up once, it instead creates a vortex of wind for a period of time. There's the Sanguisuka, which is a wind-based chain whip type weapon. There's the Thermotorch, which is a very interesting weapon in the sense that it inflicts, I think it's capable of inflicting both fire and ice damage or something like that. I think it starts as primarily a fire weapon, but I think one of the specials I want to give that gives it the ability to get frostbite buildup. And then, of course, the acidifier, which again, a very unique weapon. It's you essentially you throw you summon a drone into the sky, but instead of the drone like doing a singular attack, it instead like hovers over an area for a period of time and constantly rains down, quite literally rain. That, while not dealing a lot of damage by itself, is inflicting status effect stuff. So, with that being said, if any of those pique your fancy, chat, let me know. Or if not, we'll just start from the top. So, while you're thinking about that, chat, I'm going to take a quick bio break, so don't worry, guys. I will be right back. All right, yeah, welcome back, everyone. Copper Nettleson asks who would win a fight, Ruby Rose from the TV show Ruby or Mata Alburn from the TV show Soul Eater. I mean, I haven't seen Soul Eater, but just based on the art style alone of Soul Eater, my guess is that Soul Eater plays a lot more hard and fast with its lore, or has a lot more fantastical elements than Ruby does. And if that is the case, then I would probably say the Soul Eater character, and that's simply because in their world, they are capable of more things and surviving more stuff. And it's basically like the similar kind of argument you make for, like, if you had a character facing someone like Popeye in a brawl, and in a situation like that, it'd be Popeye, just because Popeye's a cartoon character, and cartoon characters defy the laws of physics, like, on a regular basis. So that kind of is very much, more potent than stuff like that. And the same to be said for, like, SpongeBob versus Aquaman. Like, Aquaman's very powerful, don't get me wrong, but SpongeBob can literally get a pencil that can bring things into existence or erase things from existence. And that's just one example. Like, SpongeBob's like one of the most overpowered characters when you really think about it. Let's see here. Now, that being said, I'll be right back. All right, let's get back to it. So, first item on the list, the Aqua Cannon. And I'm thinking for this one, we'll probably use the Thunder Blast as a basis for how we'll set this up here. Yes, when I think of a cannon is not something that you just pull very easily. It'd probably have to be something shoulder mounted. Probably like a rocket launcher. So let's use this as our baseline. Epic, yeah. Let's go from over here. Oh, let's see here. Copper Nicholson asks, will I be doing an easy mode in Heartwell, or do I consider easy mode to be a valid part of gaming communities? Those are both, well, the second question I think is the more fascinating one, because that is an entire discussion into itself. We'll start with the first one. So, will I be including the easy mode in Heartwell? My response to that is very simple. Heartwell has one difficulty. It's called Heartwell. How easy or hard the game is entirely up to you, the player. Now, with regards to, and that's kind of the same argument you would get in like a Souls game, like Dark Souls or Elden Ring. It's like, there's one difficulty. Man, that's just the difficulty of the game. If you want it to be easier, you spend more time grinding and you learn to get good. If you want it to be harder, you spend less time grinding and you try to do stuff with, your own self-imposed limitations. Now, with regards to easy mode in general, like, is it a valid part of gaming communities? So, I think it depends. Well, as with many things, it depends. In my opinion, Like, easy mode does not have a place in games where difficulty is like a central portion of the gameplay loop. What I mean by that is a game like, I bring up the Souls games, for example, but like Souls-like games, part of the genre is difficult but fair. And if you remove the difficult part, then it's not really a Souls-like game anymore, because the difficulty is part of it. In a similar sort of way, if you think of a game like Super Meat Boy, where like it's a precision platformer that's very, brutally difficult but fair, and you're trying to learn it, like that brutal difficulty of the precision platforming is part of the game. That's kind of part of why you bought it. Like, you didn't buy Super Meat Boy because you wanted a nice casual playthrough. You bought it because you wanted a platformer that was skill-based, very, very skillful, and very rewarding to learn. Now, in saying that, if difficulty is not the selling point, all right? If difficulty is not the selling point, then I think it is entirely up to the developers to make that call. And in many cases, there can be very good reasons for easy modes, even in things like Souls-likes. Like, don't get me wrong, like, you might be saying, Anton, are you going back on what you just said about isn't difficulty part of the point? Well, allow me to offer you a counterexample. Suppose you are suppose there is a player who has a disability. Or perhaps they are unable to use a mouse, for example. Or perhaps they are physically incapable of doing very quick reactions or button prompts or things like that, where you in a game where you'd be expecting to be pressing buttons very, very quickly, they might not be able to do that, and that's through no fault of their own. It's just a physical limitation they have. Is it really fair to that player for them to not be able to play, the video game because of their disability? And I think the game that handles this the best is Crosscode. So what Crosscode doesn't have a difficulty that you select at the beginning of the game besides New Game versus New Game Plus, which is basically the Souls games. But what Crosscode does do in the base game, in the options menu specifically, that very, very important, in the options menu, there's a tab called Assist Settings. And essentially it has two sliders. One is for the amount of, I think it's for either the damage or speed of the enemies, and the other is for the speed of the puzzle elements. And you are free to slide these up or down whenever you want. In other words, it allows the player to fine-tune some of the elements that could be more frustrating if you're not as fast or if you have a disability, so that you can still enjoy the game on your terms, so that you can find that right balance point of difficulty while still being able to enjoy the game in whatever context that is. And I love the fact that that's in the options menu as opposed to just being up front, because it kind of takes away some of the stigma of it. It's well, I'm playing on easy mode sort of thing. That makes me feel not as nice. But no, it's in the options. It's there like you change the brightness in the game, for example, or you change the sound. It's just there so that you can make the experience enjoyable to you. And for a single player game, if that's part of what the design philosophy is, it's perfectly fair. And I think there's a Data Chad meme that I think says it best, where for those of you who have been on the internet long enough, you probably know what a Data Chad meme is. It's you have the real, it's a black and white picture of the really, really strong man. He has stubble on his chin, a nice happy smile, and he's just kind of gazing into the distance. And I think the Data Chad meme that I'm thinking of says something to this effect. It's so you are playing on easy mode ? That's perfectly fine. As long as you're having fun. or it's like, or as long as you're having a good time, or things like that. It's like, and there's a similar sort of sentiment I got when I was. Quinn says, like, when people feel like feeling challenged, it's enjoyable. Exactly. Like, I play a Souls game in part because I want to feel like it's being challenged, so that when I overcome an obstacle, it feels more satisfying. But on the opposite end of the spectrum, I was, so a bit of a side tangent here, chat. I was watching a video. I think the YouTuber's name is Ciudad or something. I don't remember exactly what the name is, but the point is, he's been doing some map analysis videos of the old Battlefront 1 maps, and they're really fun to watch. Like, he really goes in depth about the thought that went into each of these maps and how they fit together, how they fit into the Star Wars theming. Even from a game design perspective, it's really fascinating. But the point I want to bring up is, it was in a video, he was reviewing the map of the islands map for Kashyyyk in Battlefront 1. And one thing he brought up was that the map is inherently unbalanced. In terms of, like, if the goal is to have, like, an equal possibility of winning the battle, no matter what team you side on, the map is unbalanced. Twin says, you feel like you have moods to enjoy challenging and mood to enjoy mindless fun, and the moods depend on how much stress you're going in life. And that's also true, and that's kind of what I'm getting at here. Because what he was pointing out is, if you play in Kashyyyk, on the map Kashyyyk Islands, the premise of the map is that it's supposed to be like a last stand. Like, the Team A starts in the center with only a couple of control points, and Team B starts on the outskirts with access to vehicles. And the idea is it's supposed to be like a final stand, King of the Hill sort of map. But because Team A in the center gets access to the neutral faction as part of their allies, so in this case, the Wookiees fight alongside them, and because the central portion also has good cover with the buildings and such, it actually gives an enormous advantage to Team A, even though they're the ones that are supposed to be surrounded. And that's because there's quite literally a second army that is very competent working alongside them that doesn't count as defeats towards their respawn counter. And you might say, well, hang on, that's completely unfair. Why would you ever want to play on Team B or stuff like that? Or it's like, why would Team A be fun if it's just that easy? And the reason is, you're not always looking for a challenge. Sometimes you want that power fantasy, you know? Sometimes you want that fantasy of being like, oh, this is my last stand sort of thing, but I'm like going all out. Or sometimes you want to play a game where, like, you enable full god mode, or you have, like, it's supremely overpowered weapons and things like that. Like, sometimes you want that power fantasy. There's fun to be had there too. And that's what the Kashyyyk Islands map does, because if you want the power fantasy, you play as the rebels defending the center point. And if you want the difficulty, you play as the Empire and try to win on that map, because I have been told that winning on Kashyyyk Islands as the Empire on hard mode is like the most difficult thing you can do in the original Battlefront. And it's because everything from a game design perspective is stacked against you. And supposedly, not many people have done it, because it's literally that unbalanced from that perspective. But it's still interesting that people can remember a map like that fondly, because, like I said, sometimes we want a power fantasy. Not all the time, but sometimes. And that's where we come back to easy mode. Like, games that kind of get easy mode wrong, in my opinion, are games where the easy mode, like, detracts from the experience. In other words, like, maybe it throws up an enormous amount of tutorial prompts that normal and hard mode would not have. Or maybe it even gatekeeps some content from you. like, I think of, like, Sonic Heroes, for example. Team Rose is effectively the easy mode, quote-unquote, of the game. But they literally, like, almost, like, shrink all the levels to, like, half or a third of their actual size. Like, they cut off chunks of the levels that you don't get to play as Team Rose. And I think that stinks. Because it's like, why should I not get to see the game just because I played on a lower difficulty? Like, it'd be one thing if there was, like, a hard mode where, like, there's a secret boss in hard mode. Like, that's cool. But to take away gameplay elements from going on easy mode, I think that's a shame. So to me, a proper easy mode should be like, you're either looking for a power fantasy, or it's there if you're purely there for the story and not really for gameplay elements. So that's depending on the type of game it is. Maybe the gameplay elements just aren't that interesting to you. Such as, I think of, like, any kind of game that's like a visual novel where the main gameplay loop is tower defense. It's very hard for me to have interest in tower defense. Like, I understand there's people who enjoy it. I'm just not one of them. Yeah. Twin says, you think there's a possibility that you just haven't found the genre of games that you enjoy? But if you try all types of games, it's not like it. You're all, you think that games are fun for everyone out there. I agree. Like, there's an enormous amount of different genres of video games out there. I genuinely believe that there is a game out there for everyone if you're willing to search for it. It really depends on what you're going for. Like, for me, as very apparent by what I'm doing here, I like games that are difficult but fair with fun boss battles. I like games with great stories. I like RPGs and stats and leveling up. I like platforming. And, of course, I like cute characters. And, like, cute environments and vast adventures. And that's all apparent with what we have here with Heartwell. But my, preferences are not for everyone, just like anyone else. Like, for every person like me that enjoys a Souls-like game, there's probably at least 10 more people who would enjoy a more casual, laid-back game where, like, maybe you're running a cafe, or maybe you're staying on an island like Animal Crossing, or maybe you're playing something like The Sims, or Stardew Valley, where it's, like, very laid-back, very relaxed, no major stressors. There's a genre for that. Let's see here. So, now in terms of games that are simple but with a fun story, I think Heartwell can fit that genre, because I think Heartwell's setup is the combat is simple but has a lot of depth. Like, between the dashing, the jumping, the sprinting, and the melee and ranged, like, it's not that complex on the surface, but the synergies between the melee and ranged weapons and positioning add up a lot. Ooh, if you like fun story games, Copper Nicholson, I would definitely recommend, like, visual novels for you, or point-and-click games. Like, those have fun stories and are fairly laid back. In fact, they're like the visual novel, like, genre in general has so many different types of stories. Like, if you didn't think of a type of story, there's probably a visual novel that fits that niche. So if you're into horror, there are horror visual novels. If you like sci-fi, there are sci-fi visual novels. If you like, mysteries, there are mystery visual novels. Let's see. All right, so we have all that. Now, actually, I guess before I even start drawing those animations, the first thing I should be doing is drawing, what does the aqua cannon even look like? So, with that. You think visual novels are boring? Well, that's eye-opening on Copper Nicholson, because that tells me, at least as a game developer, it's like, all right, you like games that are simple with a good story, but you don't want the game side of it to be so simple that it's mostly reading. So that's an important distinction, because there, like I said, there's a wide variety of games out there. So as vast as the visual novel genre is, on the whole, they tend to involve a bit less actual, direct gameplay as opposed to mostly reading, and then probably a couple of mini games here and there. It really does depend on the visual novel. Like, there's many different directions it can take. All right, so in terms of the aqua cannon, first things first, there's obviously not going to be a bowstring. Probably start with this as a base. So what I'm thinking is maybe something like that. I'm really imagining this being like a shoulder-mounted, almost rocket launcher sort of thing. It could even be something like... Actually... That work? Let me go from that. You like roleplay games. Well, then might I recommend to you, Copper Nettleson, the many plethora of Dungeons and Dragons style video games out there, where it's like you have a great story and you have some turn-based combat stuff, but it's not like super stressful. Think like Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic, or Divinity 2 Original Sin, or Baldur's Gate, games like that. That's an entire genre unto itself as well. This, maybe it will do. Oh, I think we're getting somewhere, chat. I think we're getting somewhere. Maybe we can make this center part like gray or something. Wait, I see it. I know what we're going to do, chat. We'll have like little sections like that. There's the shoulder mount. All right. All right, thanks for dropping by, Quinn. Hope you have a good night. Let's put this here. Oh, I think we're getting somewhere. Let's do it here. Ah, so I believe you're referring to a game called Cookie Clicker, Copper Nicholson. It does exist. And it is certainly, exists. Okay, let's see here. No thanks, Copper Nicholson. Actually, wait. Bear with me, chat. We'll do a little shark fin. To really sell the whole aqua sort of theming we got here. Yeah. Now we're getting somewhere. Make this a little bit smaller. Yeah, that's a look. That's a look. I like that. All right. Yeah, it's a nice. I like the contrast. What do you think, chat? How's that for a little shoulder-mounted water rocket launcher? You always pull that back just a smidge. And we could always do something like that. Let's see here. Oh, I'm glad you liked it too, Copper Nettleton. Trying to figure out. All right. All right, there we go. I think that'll do for our aqua cannon. Next up, we have the EDATS prototype. It's supposed to be like a drill. I think we could actually use the gravity lance as a reference point here. Let's see if we can move this a bit closer. I wanted that drill-like appearance. rid of that. I think the thing's being off center here. Right, they go from there. And that there. Cool. And with that, chat, I believe we have dwell, or at least the front end of the drill. In terms of the lower frame. And here for the back, we can do something similar to that. there. All right. Yeah, a bit more ridges. So. All right. So how this is going to be held. Holding a drill. It's going to be similar to that, so it needs like a side handle or something. Has a little sidebar. think that'll do for our EDATS prototype. Definitely a gnarly looking weapon. We'll know about that. The guy was drawn. Next up, the Zap Saber. Well, since we're dealing with a sword here, that's, you know, obviously start with the sword. Draw a curved sword here. Let's see here. Actually, now I think about it, if it's a curved sword, then it would be... So that's not quite right. I'll need to think on that. Why would you take the scythe and adapt that to a curved sword? What if just move everything in by 1? What will we get? I'd say we get a pretty decent curved sword baseline there. Yep. Ooh, that's a nice design. I like that. It's simple, it's clean, but it's the point across. It's like a curved sword from the future. Cool. All right, we got that all drawn. We'll pick up with the new items next time. Alright, chat, but things do seem to be moving along. I think this will be a good spot to wrap things up. If you're watching on Twitch, feel free to stick around for a rip. But if you're watching on YouTube and if you liked what you saw, please consider subscribing on YouTube. It's free to subscribe on YouTube. You don't always change your mind later. Great way to show support. If you are watching on YouTube, I hope you have an amazing night.